Okay, so welcome to the Zero for Cam stream. Sorry I was running a little late. Um, yeah, anyway, kids are on Thanksgiving break. Bedtime was harder than normal. So, let me tell you, this software is interesting. I broke my rule and spent a little bit of time doing some pre-work on it, and I'm glad I did because it's so different than any other cam software I've ever used. So let's get into it. So PixelCNC, we'll just do a whole new project, is not geared towards feature-based, parametric-driven cam, right? It's not made for making mechanical parts or like really specific things like that, like all the other cam packages that we've used in the past. It's more driven towards creating things like artistic things. Here, 1 second. Let me pull up the website. Okay. So, Cam for Artists, right? If you went to the website and you checked it out and you were like, this seems weird, it's so different. So, so far, what I figured out is that I can import vectors. I can import 3D models like STLs. I haven't found a different one that I can import. But we can do halftones, we can do V-carves, and we can do relief carvings, which are things that we haven't really ever messed around with in the stream. And it's not something that I've ever really played around with too much other than doing V-carves. The other really interesting thing about it is that you can create these stroke paths and then from them create like swept and blended paths, which is not something that I've ever really seen another cam software do. And it's got brushes to like dither them out and like sweep them up, kind of like ZBrush or something like that. And I don't think I'm going to dig into that tonight because I have no idea how to get there. But in prep for this, I downloaded a whole bunch of relief models and like STLs that we can kind of play around with to see if we can make something interesting that's kind of geared towards the software to give it like a fair shake. But also we'll take a look at the typical test model that I've been utilizing for this. And I've got some tapered ball mills, and I've got some solid PVC here that I was going to try to do some relief carving in. Something that tears out a little less than the plywood that we've been using in the past, just to see how it works. So, yeah. With all of that, really looking for input with this tool tonight, because I spent about 45 minutes with it before the stream just to like try to learn some stuff so that I wasn't wasting everybody's time clicking around. Oh, this is also the first paid software that we've done. So I think it was $100 when I bought it this summer. I think it was on sale. It was $150. The like trial mode, you can still do some things with it. I don't know if you can actually export cam, but yeah. Tutorials, there's like no tutorials on the internet. There's 3 videos. 2 of the videos are on its really interesting vector editing program or system. But there's not much in the way of like, here's how you actually do a project. Uh, so, oh, there is a user guide. Interesting. Let's see. Let's look at that user guide. Oh, it's the user guide I was looking at earlier. Okay. Their user guide doesn't really have like a 0 to cam kind of thing either. There's no like path. So yeah, we're just gonna see. Can you guys hear me okay? I haven't seen anybody on the chat since I started. So I just want to make sure that I am talking to people before we dive in too deeply. Okay, thanks, John. I appreciate it. Cool. I took a Daniel Modbots tip that he gave me earlier today and threw some headphones in with some techno to like try and keep energy up. I'm really not used to not having like someone to riff off of and like talk to, so having to look up and like find you guys on the stream. How's that, Chris? If I need to bump it up on the camera, I can bump it up there a little bit too. Or, hey, well, bump it up there too. Okay, cool. All right, so let's start. Okay, so everything in PixelCNC is based on these canvas layers, project canvases. So I have to remember how I made one. Oh, canvas properties. Okay, so canvases are basically like your stock, I think. From like the brief thing that I did take a look at, they define the XYZ origin, and let's just go with the idea that we're going to use my little PVC tokens as things to cut tonight. And I don't actually know how big they are, so bear with me while I track down a measuring device of some sort. These were project scrap that I cut up on the miter saw prior to the stream. The other interesting thing about this software versus the other ones that we've taken a look at so far is this software assumes all inches. It can take metric, but it doesn't like it. So this is 3 5/8 by 2 7/16. So at X, it's 3.625. Who knows what 7/16 is off the top of their head? I don't. 4.375. And then I know it's a 1/2 inch thick. So we're going to define it off the bottom left-hand corner because that's the way I like working. The one tutorial on how to do a project, they define it from the center. The center seems to be a really popular place to define stock from for a lot of hobby CNCists. Thanks, Paul. We work in master units here. But you have to like measure to get the center, and then like it's never quite right. So like the easiest way to pull center is go diagonal corners, strike lines, and about there. But like it never works well for me. So I go off the bottom left corner because you can just look at it and know where that is. We can also define rotation here, which is kind of neat. I don't know what Z fill does. Let's make the canvas neon green. Wow, that's too much to look at. That's the exact same color as the background on stream. Yeah. We'll just, I guess it was fine the way it was. Set the, I wonder what that does. Everything in this has these weird slider boxes too that like they kind of click in the middle of and drag up and down to define them, which is real weird. Like no. But so once we hit apply, that does that. And then we're going to create a layer. So when we create layers, we can add models to a layer, we can add paths to a layer, we can add image data to a layer, or we can do new layers. So like if we do a new text layer, we can tell it to, somehow we can tell it to scale to the canvas, and I don't remember how to do that. And I was thinking there was a way that we could change this is what I was running into earlier, which is like, it's great that I can make these layers, but how do I do anything with them? So like I kind of thought the same thing, Will. Like it feels like it's for a touch screen, but there's not a lot of touch enabled things. The like parent site to Deftware, itch.io, is a game engine, and I'm kind of wondering if this is all developed in that game engine, which is why it's kind of weird. Ooh, okay. I just noticed an edit text. Trace text to paths. Copy to raster layer. Text along paths. There's got to be cooler fonts that we can look at. I haven't really installed much for cool fonts on this computer. That's cool, full good font. Let's go with that. And we'll make it a little smaller. Oh, we can adjust the kerning. That's kind of neat. Show character map. Oh, interesting. That's kind of neat. It does feel like the world's largest cursor. Okay, so we'll go a little bigger. Say we're done editing. We'll shove this up here. Wonder if I can. Duplicate layer. Okay. So I have no idea what the raster layer does. Okay. More of these slider grabby boxes. No paths were generated, no paths layer was created. Okay. So we'll do a new paths layer. Okay. I really hope Ujext was not a typo, because that's funny. Okay, so it did a little like path tracey thing. I don't know what it's gonna do with that, but that's kind of neat. Let's see. Generate. Right now I'm just kind of farting around and like trying to figure out what this thing wants me to do for these layers. If anybody has suggestions, this truly is probably the closest in spirit to this stream, because I really have no idea with what I'm doing with this software. Oh, interesting. So it just made like this crazy fillet shape thing. I don't even know what. What did it do? Then we could like drag. Nope. Nope. Can't mess with that. Can we do this? Oh, interesting. Okay. So one of the things I was noticing earlier today when I was playing around with it, does it have an undo stack? Well, I'd laugh at that comment if it wasn't for the software that we played with last week that definitely didn't. Oh, this is kind of cool. Look at the centipede text that it made. Let's make this one. Let's just kill that one. And let's see if we can machine this nightmare. I'm curious. Okay, so the tool library is weird, like the rest of it. You can have up to 10 tools for operations. They all end up with different tool numbers. There is a library list. I don't think I have any. If you double click on it, it will let you add a tool. And then we can pick from any of these things. For this operation, we're going to pick a tapered ball mill, and I'm going to pick probably the biggest one that I've got. Which is not very big. It is a 0.75 millimeter ball, 1/8 inch shank with like about a 3/4 inch flute length. So we'll give it a 7, and then I don't know why that calculator has to be full screen. .75 divided by 25.4, 295. So it's about a 30 thou ball diameter, which is tiny. There's a 15 on this. That sure does not look like the... Oops. That's about right. Hey, that's like dead on. Close enough. Hey, Colin. So this thing's been interesting so far. We're defining a tool, and we're going to start playing around with trying to do this. So what you missed was us figuring out how to make this monstrosity, which is these these bulbs are a like vector offset, and then it was like whop, and it like made some stuff around them, and then this was the original text that the vector offset was offset from. It's very strange. Okay, so we have all these cool operations. Um, I didn't realize that this did 2D and 2.5D milling until I was playing around with it earlier. But what I ran into is I couldn't define operations in like a specific area of the part. It was all or nothing. So that's what we're absolutely going to run into here, which is fine. That's what we want for this, but it's not what I wanted for the typical cam torture test that we normally would use. So let's look at the 3D contouring paths, and all of these are very interesting. We'll start with parallel carving. So what's interesting is like I think you could define the areas in these layer groups, but I have no idea how to use the layer groups. It's non-intuitive to me at all. Obviously that's why there's a manual here, but in the interest of like actually trying to accomplish something, though, let's just like run through this. So, typical feeds, speeds, and everything. I don't have control of the spindle speed with my machine, like we've talked about in the past. But it's good to input that number anyway, just in case like you end up using the code later, which I wouldn't do anyway, but you never know. It's a good reference to come back from later. We're going to do 100 inches a minute because there's no reason why my machine can't. We'll do the engage at 40. The entry we'll do helical because I like watching helical entries. It doesn't want to do a helical entry. I wonder if it can't do a helical entry for this. And we'll do the cut depth down to 0.35 total. I don't know what the difference between these two are. I know min depth is the absolute minimum. So if you want everything to be cut off, like for this, there's this like wood grain on top that I want to go away for where we're going to cut. So I'm very jealous of you, Colin. Let's make it 8. Make sure it all goes away. We'll make the step over 30% and stock to leave 20,000. This is a parallel operation, so it's going to go back and forth, so we can give it an angle. We'll leave it at 0. The link cuts was interesting. In the tutorial I watched earlier, link cuts basically is like whether or not you want it to lift between passes. And you never really want that. But he was careful to say, like, if it has to move too far between passes, it'll lift, and it's pretty cool. I'll hit apply. Holy crap. probably not what we want. So let's run back to Canvas really quick and go Canvas properties, and we'll make the Y way smaller. Oh, that messes with the origin. Interesting. Done. And then I wonder how I can make these toolpaths go away. So can I select all of these things at once? Okay, so this is like definitely not exactly what we were after before. Maybe let's get rid of that extra raster layer. Okay. This seems much more sane for a first pass. Okay, let's see what this looks like simulated. So we can like do a full stock removal simulation, which is really neat. It does a nice tool sim. And again, we have our stupid, weird little slider thingies. And I am totally fine with how much stock it's removing for this, because it's, you know, just cutting foam to CNC or foam to PVC. I don't really care. It'll be fine. Okay. Going back through, doing a second pass. So, yeah, and it gives us a nice time estimate. It gives us the distance of feed and rapid in feet, which is interesting. One thing I noticed, though, is it didn't look like it was cutting in both directions. Looks like it's... Oh, I like that, like, sweeping effect to make it look like the bit's spinning. That's fun. Okay, yeah, so it's definitely doing like a lift and then come back. So we don't want that. So if we go in here, I bet there is a distance from canvas edges equal to toolpath radius. No, that's handy. Direction mixed. Okay, I bet that lets us go both ways. Yeah, that's a much more sane looking path. Oh, that's even better. All right. So climb versus conventional. Climb. So if we were cutting the edge of this TV remote, and the cutter is doing this, this is climb. So it's pulling itself along. Versus conventional, the cutter would be going like this and pushing away as it's moving up. Typically in a tight CNC application, you would want climb cutting. It's cleaner. It runs a little bit smoother usually. But if your machine has any backlash or looseness at all, and you're using a bigger cutter or a heavier depth of cut, it can really cause hell on your machine, like pulling it in to the cut. So, but with things like this, mixed is totally fine, where you would just go back and forth and not necessarily worry about the engagement direction. This is funny. This is also what makes me think this is built on a game engine, that it's giving me a RAM usage and a FPS readout at the bottom. So let's do another one as like a finish pass. So for spiral carving, it would start out from the center and like work its way out. Oh, so you could limit how far out it goes. This is nice. It looks like it pulled the cut parameters from the last operation. All of the cut parameters, my min depth, my cut depth, my max depth, and it zeroed out stock to leave. That's cool. So let's do rest machining. So rest machining would basically tell it like, hey, the previous operations have already taken care of stock. Cool. Wonder if we did a 20% step over. Do it a little finer. I like that you don't have to run the sim to get a full idea of what it looks like. Gives us a nice scallop simulation. So if you guys remember, we did some of this with Kirimoto, but it was with a model that was very intense as far as computation wise, and it took forever to get a representation, and this is doing it ultra fast, so that's cool. According to Kirimoto dev Stuart, that's much faster now, so I would like to revisit that software at some point in the future. Ooh, that got real smooth. It's got an estimated cut time of 10 minutes. That's longer than we probably want to run on stream. What time is it? We've been doing this for about 45 minutes. Let me save this. Let's do a new project really quick. And let's load up the B. So this was the model that really brought Kirimoto to its knees. So yeah, right away it brought the model in. It scaled it to my canvas. Very cool. I wonder if we... No, I don't want to do that. I want to... It's interesting that it rotates in 11.25 degree increments. We'll scale this guy up a little larger. Okay. So, just like before, it filled up my half-inch depth, which I don't really think we want. Let's say... I don't know what this Z-fill does. Okay, so that depth looks way more reasonable. So we lifted up the model, made the material thicker, but left the canvas alone. So they reuse this all over the place, this dialog box, which is fine, I guess, but it's easy to get confused on what you're changing, I think. Okay, so we've got this here. Hey, it remembered my tool from the last job. Awesome. Let's see, what is this called? R 0.75, 15. Okay. So we'll save this to a tool library. Texturing reliefs. One of the things I wanted to look at before I got too far into everything was V carving. Um, but whoa. So wondering why it left all of that behind. Top of canvas. Oh, okay. So the cut depth is how much depth it can take per pass. Useful. Um, hmm. Okay. So I dropped the model down a little bit because it wasn't getting hit. Alright, so now it's fully getting machined there. Very cool, very cool. So we'll do a new operation. Again, I'm going to do, let's see what paths does. Oh, valid paths layer, okay. What does conformal carving do? Oh. Okay, so it's like making texture kind of like a yeah, so it's like texturing it out to try to like simulate a chisel effect. That's kind of neat, useful. Um, Probably not what I want for this one, so we'll get rid of that. I feel like the chevron one's going to be doing the same idea. Oh, interesting. So it's, yeah, it's all about toolpath control. Neat. So I actually want to make this. So we'll do a 5% step over. What? Do this, apply it. Boy. There's so many lifts and attacks in this. So let's make that rapid height like 02. And oh my gosh, I think it's even worse now. Oh, but look at all the ramp paths. That's really It's pretty cool. I bet that would take forever to run. Let's look at how long this operation is. 46 minutes. Whew. Okay. I actually want to run this, but obviously I'm not going to run that on stream. Yeah, the calcs are super fast. So you gotta remember, I have it set to a 5% step over with a 0.75 millimeter end mill. So it's tiny, tiny, tiny step overs. We could probably make that better if I made that like 15%. Way easier to look at. There's still so many lifts. Oh, if I got rid of rest machining, it's way better. Just let it attack. Okay, so now it just has a few lifts right here. Okay. Now let's see how long it is. 25 minutes. Yes. So Rick, I'm with you. I don't think the UI UX is very intuitive, but you know, it's because I'm used to CAM systems. So which this very much does not feel like. But maybe it is intuitive to somebody who's not me. And you know, I don't know who that person is. So if we wanted to cut this thing out, there's 2D and 2.5D milling. Supposedly you can use this for a cutout, and I was trying to figure that out earlier. So we might have to like figure out how to add a path in to cut it out. This was where I was kind of messing around earlier and like starting to wonder like, are we outline mode? Cut. Okay. I don't think I'm going to fight through that right now. That doesn't seem like a good use of anybody's time. Yeah, I don't know. Chris, you use After Effects. Does this feel good to you? You're using almost a gig of RAM. So like I want to play with the medial axis carving, and the stippling for halftones, and the dithered stippling also for halftones. Like, fun stuff. Probably not going to play with that on stream. Okay, so we're going to call that done. Cancel. And because I feel like these are going to work, I'm going to export the G code. We're going to export the operations combined. There's a fair bit of post-processors for this. Rich Auto is a DSP-based controller. CNC is really not a super ubiquitous controller, but it's used in some higher-end machines like the stupid orange ones that I can never think. Stepcraft. It's interesting that they have an easel post. I didn't know that easel needed a post-processor. But anyway, we're going to use the Gerbil metric post because that's what my machine is. Well, cool. We'll let it open the G code after export. Export a G code. They allow for tiling in the post. So this would be like if you wanted to make a grid of a whole bunch of these and didn't want to do the programs for all of them, it will offset them and the post-processor dialog. This is ultra useful. Very cool. So, like, you know, this has all kinds of stuff that I don't necessarily like in it, but, like, I'm kind of loving this, so exports code fast. I told you to open the G code when we were done. Definitely don't want to open that. Yeah, Rick, it's like a grid array, but a grid array of tiled code. Cool. The code looks like it'll probably work. Alright, are you guys up for one more project? I really want to try and see if I can figure out V-carving. Looks like my batteries on my things are good. So the last thing I really wanted to try to V-carve is the very, like, the hello world I've done for the milk crate for all of my builds has been a V-carved milk crate logo. And I always use Aspire for that, which, you know, go to V-carve thing or V-carve Pro. But like, there's not a lot of like inexpensive V-carving tools. I guess Carbide Crate does V-carving. But I was trying to figure out how to V-carve this earlier. And I want to feel like I know a little bit more now. Okay, so we've got this. Edit paths. So, oh, okay. So one of the things I've seen is that you can do. Okay. Okay, alright, so if we're in 2D mode, we can select these paths. And I know you can do swept paths and simplified paths. And supposedly, there we go. You can do node editing of these paths. Oh, okay. So the selection is super picky. I can't figure out why it's not letting me grab that grip. I have to control click to grab it? Well, that makes... Sure, that makes sense. What happens if I alt click it? Alt click doesn't do anything. If I shift click it... So I know you can do like shift and control click scales for this. Oh, if I right click on it, it just deletes the node. Okay, useful. Do I want to... oh, it added a whole bunch of nodes to it. Okay, that's kind of neat. Okay. So somebody who's spent a lot of time with really good node editing software, this leaves some things to be desired, but it's cool that it's here. Super cool. Definitely has promise. Okay, I had a purpose. We can't get distracted from the purpose. So when I was playing with this earlier, I was trying to... We'll make a V-bit, and the V-bit that it gives you is super close to the V-bit that's in my toolbox, so I'm going to keep it. But the problem is my my vectors went away. So like I can't profile mill. Oh, maybe I can. All right, so this layer selection thingy here, let me do that. Okay. What happens when I do that? It definitely made a bunch of contours. Okay. Not what we were after, but I feel like we're on the right path. So let's... What does the paperclip do? Exclude from simulation and imported... Oh, okay, so like suppress... That is not the right icon to suppress things. Nope. Not even a little bit. But okay. So we're going to try... I really want to try medial axis carving. This is what I feel like should be used. Okay. Okay. So why did it ignore all the things? Depth to offset generated cut paths to 0 equals top of project's canvas. Step over. Okay. So the min depth was telling it like, no, you can't do that. But what is going on inside those letters? This looks pretty wild. Let's look inside that sim. Modbot, it's so different. I can't decide if I love it or hate it. It is not this. It is not the same tool. It has whole different everything. The UI is crazy, but it does some neat stuff. Well, that's not very good. I really wanted this to be good. I wanted that. This is not that. It is super fast. You can watch, if you roll back like 15 minutes, Daniel, you can get a pretty good idea of the what's going on with the beginner experience. There's a lot of like really confusing dialogues that look very similar that confused me pretty hard. So to give you guys an idea, this is what vCurve Pro does with that same vector. So, the end looks really good. Like the text looks like the text. The splat looks similar, but like that B, where's that? That B. It makes me wonder if there's some issues with the vector that are causing problems. Let's pop that vector open. That vCurve took like 4 minutes. 100 inches a minute, full depth. I've got video of it somewhere. So let's pop this guy in. Let's weld that text. Just make sure that everything is as good as we can. There's no duplicates. Everything's auto joined. Okay, so there's lots of open shapes in this. Where are you open at? Sometimes things work really good, and sometimes you just have to like go through and grab things. This is a old version of Lightburn. Things have gotten better. Look at that. No more open shapes. So that's something that absolutely trips up Vectric. Like, pay $900 for software, and toolpaths don't look much better than that when things are all funky. So let's go back in here. Apply. I don't think it got any better, but let's look at it. Okay, certainly didn't get any better. Oh. I wonder if I'm telling it to go too deep. What happens if we tell it to go like way deep? Okay, it still doesn't go, doesn't look like it goes any deeper than it can. All right, it's doing the medial axis thing. Okay, let's try stippling really quick. I bet we have to have a bitmap for stippling. Okay. I don't know what terracing is. I really feel like I'm missing something. But I don't know what it would be. That's certainly not any better. Okay, so we've been doing this for an hour and a half. Do you want to see one of the 3D toolpaths that we did earlier run? I could throw a tool in really quick, and we can like watch it really quick, or we can call it. And I can run some of these toolpaths later this week and post videos of them on the various socials. I'm kind of fine with either. If you guys want me to run things on the machine, I need to take a quick break. Okay. All right. I'll be back in just a minute. Tell me which one you want to run. Do you want to run that weird text or the B? Okay. Nobody told me if they wanted me to run the B or the text. So we're gonna run the text because the text was gonna be way faster. So what do you guys think? Is this software cool? Too difficult? Not difficult enough? I feel like that's a legit criticism for machinists. Like, oh, they made that too easy, so that software sucks. I think it definitely has some interesting points. It definitely does things that I don't know how to do in other software. It was $150. Occasionally they have sales. I think it was $100. Yeah, I think it was $100 when I bought it. But the stuff that it does with like swept paths and things like that is really interesting and not something that I've ever seen another software do before. I think if I could figure out how to make the V-carve work the way I would expect, I would be way, way interested in it. Just because V-curve tools are so expensive. Vectrix tools are even for their lowest end offerings, they're prohibitively priced. So to get a good competitor for those tools would be really awesome. We'll stick that guy down. And then so this is the text project that we made. So we made this before Colin and Daniel showed up. John, I think all of these packages warrant a second look, to be honest. It's the only thing I don't like about this stream is I don't feel like, an hour and a half doesn't give a lot of these softwares a fair shake. But I think an hour and a half is enough to tell me whether or not they're worth looking into more, for sure. And I think almost every tool we've looked at so far is worth a second look in some way. I spent 2 or 3 hours with Gerbil Grew after we dropped off the stream last week, just playing with the machine simulation aspect of it and trying to figure that out some more. So, absolutely. So before Modbot and Dub jumped on, we made this text here. We made this text here completely in the CAM package. You know, used their text tool to extrude the text up. Used the path tool to offset the edges of the text, and then used another tool to like make the bubbly things going on in the background. Yeah, just kind of screwing around, just trying to figure out what was there, and then playing around with this. So based off what we learned with the B, we're going to get rid of rest machining. So there's a few less lifts in here. And then I'm going to tell it to do a negative 0.1 rapid height and see if it works. Yeah! Because, for two reasons. One, the rapids for the machine are about equal to the feeds that I programmed. And two, all that stock should be gone because of the first pass. First pass machined all that stuff away. So we're going to see how that works. So we'll save the project. It kept my post-processor from before. I wonder what text editor it is expecting to open. And then one of the really cool things, Modbot, that you weren't here for, that we found earlier, is it will automatically tile, like a grid array, the exported G code, which I think is super cool. Would be really neat if you were making a whole bunch of these and you only wanted to program it once. So, oh, it opened it up in the black box. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll get rid of that. Load G code. Okay. All this code looks sane. If you guys remember last week when we had the paths just like drilling through the table or looking like they drilled through the table, I don't see anything like that this week. That's cool. So let me zero out the machine. Oh man, I downloaded so many topographical maps and things, like a literal gig of STLs to play with this. So I'm definitely going to play more with this. Boy, that got close. We're like right on it. I'm going to call that good. Sure. Okay. Figure out what I did with that light stand from last week. Okay. Oh yeah, that's much better. You guys can actually see that. John, the material is a foamed PVC board. They sell it as like a trim material at Menards. It's real cheap. It cuts really well. And honestly, it looks like styrofoam when you cut it too, so. So, I'm gonna turn the microphone down just a little bit. And I'll point it a little more at my face so you can hear me. And okay. Here we go. Yep. So the first path that's running now is simulated at 1:42. And the second path is simulated at 10 minutes, so we probably won't watch that whole thing spiral out, but we'll definitely watch the beginning of it. The bit is a 0.75 millimeter ball nose taper mill, 2 flute. I can post a link to it in the Milk Crate Discord. Oh yeah, she's chooching. Okay, so now we're into the second tool path, which is a radial spiral, which should clean it all out. I'm really curious how this turns out. I've never ran any tool paths like this, so this is all new. Those are the end mills that are cutting right now. Oh yeah, you can start to see the two coming out of it. Fortunately, I don't think this webcam does manual focus, so it's like freaking out trying to focus on the machine. So cutting wise, I definitely think this could be pushed harder. I'm not sure how much faster I can push my machine without dropping steps. I think this is probably the last week we're going to do the stream with the Fluid and C hardware. It's looking really good. It's going to be a Duet Mini 5 Plus with a with their closed loop driver boards. So it will be all encoded and closed loop when the full controller swap is done. I'll probably just do the Duet, get everything running, and then start working on doing the closed loop after that. they've apparently added a whole bunch of really neat CNC-centric tools in the 3.4 release. So I'm not changing the steppers out. They sent me some encoder boards that basically you glue magnets onto the back shaft and hook up these encoder boards, and you can close loop existing steppers. I was hesitant to change out my steppers since I had just tracked down linear motors for this machine. So we're gonna try those out and see how they go. Worst case, I could go back to standard lead screws and do off-the-shelf closed-loop steppers, but I really want to see how this goes. Yeah. I really need more time. Yeah, so linear motors, if you look up there, there's no shaft coupler. So that's just the screw is the motor shaft, essentially. Just like the Z-axis on a Prusa. So you can start to see the detail there. I really wanted to go to linear motors like these because the motor thrust bearing stack up is probably one of the more complicated parts of this machine build. So having these makes that a lot easier. What do you mean kern type motors? Send me a link to what you're talking about. Yeah, integrated lead screws. I feel like that light's making it worse to look at. Nope, it wasn't. Okay, so it's getting really close. Let me try this. Hopefully this doesn't screw things up too badly. Okay, hopefully I don't make you guys sick. definitely doing a good job. Okay. Any machine without googly eyes isn't a machine at all. Alright, so when it finishes out this corner and I get a second to actually hit pause while it's lifted, we'll finish this out. Alright. Okay, so final thoughts on this. Software is awesome. For some things, it has a lot of I don't know. It's got a lot of eccentricities that make it not ultra easy to use, but I think it's got some really interesting power that makes it worth looking at deeper, for sure. I'll post pictures of this thing, the how it turns out after the stream, and I'll cut out that B. Got another piece, but I think that B is going to take like 45 minutes or an hour to cut, so I'll probably do that tomorrow. But overall, yeah, I want to spend some time with the software and look at it a little bit more. I want to see if I can figure out the V carving issue and go from there. The next softwares that we've got to look at, we still need to look at Desk Proto. I still really want to look at Estlcam. Estlcam, I feel like, is a really good low-cost alternative from everything I've looked at. It's like $70 total, and it does tricoidal milling. It does a lot of stuff with 2D. And I don't know. There's still a whole bunch more to take a look at. Let me see here. Give you an idea of the different softwares to take a look at here. So this is my list of things to look at. So now we've looked at PixelCNC, and we still have all these other ones to do. Yeah, if you guys want to do Carbide Create, we can totally do Carbide Create. I've avoided it because it is so common. But, you know, like, it does... V6 still outputs normal G-code. Its interface is super simple and super clean. It does V-carving. It does fancy V-carving. I don't know what advanced V-carve is. It does like all the things that we really kind of need a CAM software to do, and it does it really basic. I've purposely left it off the list because of how simple it is and how kind of ubiquitous it is. But, you know, I can definitely throw that out for a vote. And I'm sure it will get a lot of votes. Other ones I really want to take a look at. CamLab, we basically looked at it. We looked at that during the Kirimoto stream, so we can call that green. The Open Builds Cam is weird, but we can take a look at it. Sheet Cam is weird, but very powerful and cheap. Yeah, that makes sense, Colin. Like I touched it real early on, looking at this. I haven't looked at what Carbide Create Pro does. Same for easel. I spent a little bit of time with easel, just trying to like get the lay of the land with it, but easel's annoying because they like as soon as you start it up, it forces you into the Easel Pro trial. Like you don't get any chance to like ease into that or like decide you're going to try it later. So like I've already burned my Easel Pro trial because I installed it one time. Bobcat's cheap. GCAD's a weird like 2.5D CAD package that's got a crappy cam that I'd kind of like to take a look at. I think it's open source. So like I'm running out of really good ones that I want to take a look at. Dusk Proto's top of my list, same as Estocam. But if you guys want to do Carbide Create, like you guys are I don't know. I was kind of wondering about their extension program too. But if you guys want to dive into Carbide Create next time, you know, I'll throw that at the top of the poll, and we can just plan for it because you're the ones that show up every time. So, F-Engrave is another one that I want to play with. It does V carving, it does profile milling, it does drilling. So, yeah. I'll keep you guys posted on the PixelCNC progress. It's one that I want to keep playing with. I'm glad that I got a chance to play with it finally. I've had it for, I don't know, since June, probably, and I've put it off because I wanted to do it here. So, yeah. But yep, that's kind of where I'm at. It's 11 o'clock here. I should go to bed. I have to work tomorrow. You guys probably do too. So I will post results and see you guys on the next stream. So, thanks everybody.